Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to our first lecture. First, let me say something general about this subject and what is our overall intention. Or my overall intention from this subject is to provide you as students or as project management professionals a meeting place where we will be able to bridge practice and theory. And we are going to do this to achieve this objective by bridging practice and theory, by trying to learn from the experience of the others. And we do that through 21 project cases that we are going to study some of them, either presenting them in the lectures or use them as a reference during the assignments. And these cases that the book is centered around them is taken from various industries here in Norway. So they provide you with a good insight about how projects in Norway are conducted. And we are going also to use these cases, what we learn, the knowledge gained from these cases, the problems that appeared, how they solved the problems, how they addressed the problems, or how they managed to achieve success. And we are going to explain that using the concept and the theoretical body of knowledge in project management. And we also will try to present you with the new insights that we have gained from studying these cases collectively. Now, we know that there are many types of projects. And in project management literature, there have been several efforts to classify these projects. Some authors, some scholars, they use size to differentiate between projects. They talk about projects that cost huge investment, such as mega projects. So they say, for instance, that anything that costs more than 1 billion US dollar can be called a mega project. Here they use the size or the cost of the project as a reference to say something about its size. And sometimes they use the duration as a reflection of size. You have a project that takes several years to complete, then it's a huge and considerable or very large or mega project. Sometimes the number of departments. So size in terms of cost or duration or scope of work or any other element can be used or has been used. Some other authors do not use that. They use the type of project. Is it a new project? Is it a maintenance? Is it an upgrade? Is it strategic? Is it tactical? Is it operational? In the sense that how this project fits in the organizational structure, how important it is for the organization. And then there are some others, they are just using the application. You have software projects and you have new product development project, and then you have construction projects and so on. But of course, when you are using application to differentiate between projects, sometimes in the same project, you will find several types of applications. I mean, in any modern building, a modern building is not only a construction project. There is some communication equipment are installed. There are some maybe new product developments are needed in order to install these equipment. Maybe there are a new software is needed. Maybe you need to install Others, maybe you need to do some research even in advance in order to be able to build this modern high-tech building. So by application, sometimes it's difficult to say this one is that and this project belongs to something else. Sometimes we use complexity and uncertainty. We look at these two aspects and people try to classify project based on that. There are some simple projects that you have done before, you are familiar with, you know what is needed, you know all the method, you know all the tools, you have enough competence in that area. And there are some other projects you have no idea how they will evolve over time. So the way you approach these two projects is totally different. And sometimes you look only at the deliverables. Is it concrete or is it open? Is it like a construction project? You build a house, you build a hospital, or is it open? You have no idea what you are building. You are not building anything actually. You are trying to understand the problem, like research project, typical example of open project. Sometimes you only look at the level of formality. You have some projects that are very formal with clear identification of contracts, who will be involved, why they should be involved, and how they will be involved. And there is informal. It is like internal initiative. People takes internal initiative and try to develop that into a structure or a project. Sometimes they talk about the level of the know-how. You have knowledge, enough knowledge about the project, then it is a concrete project. If you have almost nothing about that knowledge, it's similar. It's, as you see, it is very similar to the concept of uncertainty, but then they call it an open project. And there is always something in between. In this subject, we don't really classify. Our intention here is not to classify anything. Our intention is just to find a way to present the cases in this book. This book consists of, or the textbook consists of two parts. The first part is called the insights. This is where we link the practice and theory and we present a new insight. And the second part called the narratives. They are the story themselves, what happened, and what can we learn from that. In order to present the second part in a convenient way, we divided the second part into applications. And we use 5 categories to present these cases. First category is the restructuring project. We call them change projects. There are some type of projects you don't really produce anything. You just try to discuss an idea to attain something, but there is no deliverables. There is no hard deliverables. So this what we refer to restructuring or change projects. And the second category we have is information system projects. They are type of soft projects, but with a concrete deliverable. You have an information system, you have a software that you deliver as a result of your project. And then we have construction projects. It's the most typical and most known type of project, like building projects, highway projects. And then we have a new product development project. These are like taking an existing product and to try to improve it, to optimize it, to change it, or to build a new product and services. And finally, the final category of projects we have is called the research and studies. In this type of projects, there is no, again, there is no hard deliverable. There is no physical object you produce. You only produce an idea, a report, an explanation, a definition, and that sort of things. That can be used further by other projects, or if you continue that project, you will try, of course, to realize the content of your studies. So what are these restructuring projects or soft projects? The first characteristic is that people and work processes, that is how people are working together, are in focus. This is what you want to change. You want to change how people work, or you want to change the work processes. But if you want to change the work process, then you have to change how the people work. So these two things, people and work processes, are always in focus when you are working on change projects or soft project or chain restructuring projects. For instance, if an organization like our university want to change existing work process or introduce a new work process, or to go completely digital, as everybody is doing right now, you cannot switch, you pull the switch or press the switch and you say, okay, we are digital now, everything is digital. No, there are a lot of things that has to be done. And among these things is to manage that change, manage that transition from an old work process, an old system, to a new system. So this type of project, the restructuring project or soft project, require change management. And in order to achieve this change management, there are some certain conditions that must be there. And why these conditions are there? Because change is not easy to realize. There will always be some sort of resistance. Somebody will resist that, or maybe sometimes not resistance, but there will be reluctance. Because when you change something, what happens? You change the working habit, you change the social structure, you change the rewards. People need to invest more time in doing that. So change in itself requires adaptations, and you need to plan this adaptation. You must create commitment to this adaptation. You must create motivation to this adaptation. And you must be knowledgeable project manager. You can't come to an organization and the next day you start a change management initiative. You need to know how the organization is structured, what type of activities there, how the activities or assignments are related. So knowledge, the competence of project manager is a prerequisite for success of restructuring projects. Maybe you would like to watch one of the case studies or read about it. It's called the reduction of response time in a bank. It describes a very small restructuring project, but it shows the consequences of not managing this type of project in an adequate way. Now, the second type of project is the IT project. And the IT projects in general could be considered as a subcategory of the restructuring project, because you don't really introduce IT solutions or make IT improvement or introduce digital enablers because of fun, right? You have an objective when you do that. And therefore, there is some similarity between restructuring projects and IT projects. The only difference is that IT projects deliver something, really a product that you install and you run and you start using. There is another characteristic of IT project which is make it very unique. It's about maybe not the uncertainty of the process itself. How do you develop an IT or a software? But there is uncertainty about the final solution's ability to adhere or to please the expectations of the end users. You could produce, anyone can produce any software, but this software will be used by specific type of people, specific experiences, and there is always an element of uncertainty on will this product satisfy their expectations, or will it fail to achieve that? Therefore, many suggested the use of agile approaches to develop these IT solutions, not all at once, by in incremental fashion. Right, to address this point of uncertainty. Don't do everything at once. That is the answer here. Another case study that is very interesting, and I invite you to review, is the voice recognition software. This is an excellent case where they implemented an IT solution which created more problems than before. Although it satisfied some objectives indeed, but it created more problems for the doctors who were supposed to use this system. And then we come to this construction projects, building project, highway projects, road projects, bridge. These are the most important characteristic of this type of project is the constraints. This is usually the case. You know what you will deliver. It's a physical thing that you can measure at the end of the day. But there are a lot of constraints. There are constraints regarding time. There are constraints regarding cost, requirements, regulations, and you have to adhere to all these regulations and constraints. And this puts a lot of demand on planning and control. And also there are many people and organizational units are involved. You can't build a bridge by one small contractor. You need probably thousands of people to do that. And another characteristic of this type of projects is that many decisions are taken at very early stage. You can't sit and wait to a later point in time in order to start construction. You have to design your product, make detailed planning, complete detailed planning, and you have to assign or use contracts several times, and you have to be very sure about how much you will use, how much money you will use, and how much time you need to execute each work package. You can't use the agile approach or incremental approach when you are doing a construction project. Therefore, risk assessment and early planning and thorough early planning is a key success factor. And I also here, I advise you to go and look into this case, the construction project before. It tells about a project that had a lot of constraints, imposed constraints. And it tells also the story how the project management managed to adhere to these constraints and execute the project successfully. And then we have this category of projects, which are the product development projects. Here again, the deliverables, what you produce, are tangible and concrete. It's a physical thing. And it could include new product developments or include the optimization of existing products. They are very similar to construction projects, but there is an added level of uncertainty. And this added level of uncertainty about the technology, there is an element of technology involved in this type of projects. So if the uncertainty is high, this could complicate the new product development. Also, how to approach, how to proceed. There is also uncertainty of methods. Even the scope, the full scope of the project is very difficult to define upfront. So here you need to have adequate enough technical resources in order to reduce the impact of the uncertainty on technology. At least you need to have people who are experienced in their field, and you need to maintain this top management support, because this type of project could be very costly. It could go out of proportions. And then if you don't have this type of management support, the top management can come at any point in time and say, now this has become too costly, close down everything, and which would mean failure to your project. So this is, as I said, similar to construction project, but with added level of uncertainty. I here advise you to look at cost optimization. There is a case study called cost optimization of a product. You will find it in the narrative sections. I recommend you to read it and to see what could happen in this type of projects and what are the consequences of that. The last type of projects we have in this subject are the research projects or study projects. They are even more uncertain than the product development projects, because in this type of projects, we are trying to identify the boundaries of a problem through a report, through a suggestion. So there are many elements we could include or not include, and this is always difficult to know what should be there and what it shouldn't be there. So the final, what you produce at the end, is uncertain when it comes to reliability. Is it good enough? And the validity. Will it give us the intended solution? These are difficult to be sure about. This type of project you will see in many situations, like visibility studies. I'm sure you hear this term, visibility studies, or technical impact studies, or financial impact studies. It is just a study. It is the result is bounded by the data you collect, and immediately, if it's bounded by the data, then you have to question the reliability and the validity of that data. There is a case which is very interesting. It shows the challenges of this type of studies. This is the introduction of a project, the case recruitment of men to the health sectors. I have uploaded several animations, video animations of all these cases that I have mentioned in this short presentation. I encourage you, you will find them in the Blackboard. I encourage you to watch these video animations, read the cases, and try to get understanding of how it is to work in projects. Thank you.